everyone, and welcome back to Owlet Tournament. My name is Misfit, and this is our next episode of The Nest. I'm very excited to bring this one to you. We actually had some pretty interesting games this week, most namely Paradise Tempest versus Los Beefers to Be. They were able to take the first maps off of Paradise Tempest that we've seen in the whole tournament, so we'll get to that a little bit later here. For now, I want you all to wish me a happy birthday because it was my 21st on Monday, and I need attention. So, please give me validation. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys are so sweet. But without further ado, let's get right into this show. On the Nest tonight, we're going to have Juggle God and Silent Marine. We'll start off with you, Juggle God. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, how's it going, Misfit? Happy to be here. I am a, let's see here, former research scientist turned professional juggler turned aspiring esports caster. So that is who I am. I'm also I'm an OG Quake speedrunner, like original Quake. Back in the 90s, I was a high-ranked speedrunner back then. I still even have a record that stands today. And got into Overwatch a few years ago. Absolutely love it. I'm a Wrecking Ball main because let's go fast. And just super excited to be here. Love this community so far, and love casting for you all. So yeah, hello.
Awesome. That is definitely one of the most interesting introductions we've ever had on the show. I'll give you that. I'm definitely going to leave an impression here, but we'll throw it over to you now, Silent Marine. Good luck following that, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get anywhere close to that kind of intro. So I'm Silent Marine. I think I've been here since about season 2, and I think it's safe to say, not to ego myself, but I'd probably say I'm like one of the more veteran producers here doing all the shows. You may remember me from 3.9 as the so-called stats producer, where I was collecting all the statistics and making those cards that you'll see this episode.
That is true. Silent is the guy behind those match cards we use every episode. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I will say I did have to rush the last one in because it went to 6.
Yeah, no,
you'll know which one.
Without further ado, though, let's get right into our recap of the games. A lot of good ones this week. We'll start off with our first, which was actually literally a week ago, right after this, or right after our last episode of The Nest. We had Hyperion play Rogue Dragons, and I think we were pretty much unanimous. I'm pretty sure someone did predict that Rogue Dragons would win in 3-2 fashion, so, congrats to them. So smart. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure everyone kind of thought Hyperion would have this one in the bag. They were a pretty highly rated team going
Plus, for the side of Hyperion, and they've got the spawn advantage here.
Goes to 6.
Juggle Bob at the point, they're trying to get somebody to drop off of that high ground, which is the strategy they've been keeping this entire time. Big boot from Lexi!
Ooh, yeah, big boot from Lexi, and Oakley is able to find Khan.
Yeah,
Felix Amintus, my casting partner, and I did this one, and I have to say, this is, this has been the match of the season, from my perspective. I feel so lucky that I got to cast this thing. It was an absolute barn burner. I mean, what I was most impressed about during this match was the mental fortitude that it took Rogue Dragons to win, because like not only did the scores up here don't tell the whole story, right? Rogue Dragons had their back against the wall. They were in a must-win situation multiple times in this match, and clearly, because they won every single time, they came out on top. And I was just phenomenally impressed. And I mean, look at these stats too that you see down below. Raph 25 final blows on Eichenwald. The King 27 final blows on Legion Tower. Like, they both teams played, I think, out of their mind. Like, they both did a phenomenal job. Rogue Dragons just happened to eke this one out. They just came out on top. I've been a big fan of the King ever since I first started casting here. He is a phenomenal Pharah, and I think in both the matches that I've now casted, Hyperion, I don't think they've won either of the matches I've casted, and it's I feel bad for the King because he's just been such a standout player, I think, on Hyperion. And wanted to call him out too. Yeah, give him a little plug there.
Yeah.
So
He's
yeah,
been in the league for quite a bit of time, actually. He's been here, I believe, since season 2.
Oh, very cool.
King's one of the veteran players.
Yeah.
He's been around.
He's like the Jinmu of Owlet is how I kind of think of him. And yeah.
Okay,
Somebody said in chat too, yeah, the king had a 10-second ult at the beginning of every map. And that's maybe a little bit of hyperbole, but it's not far off. It's not far off.
I've seen ults built in a minute. I've seen minute ults.
Yeah. I think in another match that I cast, we had like somebody on Zarya who was getting like 30-second ults, and it was insane.
That might have been Hawk.
Yeah.
If I don't know, don't know too many of the Zarya players too well, but if I had to take a guess, I would say it was Hawk. He's a very good player on Otterok side. I don't know if he casted a game of theirs, but no, let's get back on topic here with Hyperion versus Rogue Dragons. I think a big thing that I want to point out here is the healing numbers from both these supports. You know, supports do not get highlighted very much. It's hard to really see the impact of a lot of supports in the game, because usually they're like the shot callers or the ult trackers, and they don't do a lot in game unless they're on characters like Baptiste or Ana that can have that hard carry potential. But seeing such good healing numbers from these characters, what we really have to see here is the pace of this game is not going very fast. The fact that they are able to get numbers like these means that neither team is really playing very fast. They're both kind of playing slow, or at least not as fast as they need to be playing. And both these supports are doing an excellent job of staying alive or keeping their team alive, and really making sure that those fights can continue lasting very long. You know, obviously you want your team to start playing fast, but as a support, you don't really have control over when your team starts to play fast. All you can do is keep them at high health, so that we can hopefully see them start to play faster. So big props to both these guys. They're good to see one of the King's many ults throughout this game. Very, very big. I don't want to call him a Pharah one trick. Not because he's not a Pharah one trick. I just don't want to call that on broadcast. He also plays Junkrat. But as far as definitely his best character,
I think I saw him flex on Widow too. Even
I did see a bit of Widow.
Interesting. It's inconsistent at best, but when he's on, he's on. He actually, in Season 3 Grand Finals, we had a player named Justice Seaman from Ohio Obos, and that dude was nuts. And the King, who had never played Hitscan in an actual match before, came out and went like 4-0 with Gibraltar, like right out of the gate. He didn't end up starting DO even with him, but it was still really surprising. I was casting that game. So he sometimes has the sauce on those characters, but he's more well known for his high damage.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows him best for his Pharah.
For sure. And I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Misfit, about the supports, because I think that Amintus and I gave the MVP of this match to one of Rogue Dragon's supports. I don't remember offhand who it was, but I think we did. Somebody, I don't know if somebody in chat or if anybody remembers and can check, but yeah.
I did a quick numbers check, and spelling fail, I think that how you, that sounds mean.
Yeah.
However you say the name is top of the healing per 10 right now.
Well, there you go. Definitely a you want to be in as a sport. But let's wrap this one up and get into our next game. Rogue Dragons, of course, getting the victory there. And then we move into our next game, which wasn't a very, very close one. This one was Crusaders versus Volume 0. And I did watch a bit of this one, too. And I actually thought Crusaders looked better than they have all season. Mostly for the reason that they didn't get reverse swept this game. Really good job. I'm actually really proud of you guys. I'm not even kidding. You guys looked a lot better this game than you have in your other games. I was watching through Chinote's streams, and your guys' comms were definitely on. You had that pretty good. So kudos to them. I got to see some clutch caliber DPS, which is always entertaining. But yeah, no, we'll start off with you, Silent. What did you see in this game?
Well, looking at it straight from the numbers, this seemed pretty obvious. Crusaders just completely dominated them on Lijiang Tower. And I mean, look at that! Look at that final blow to death ratio. Anything above like 1.2 is, I want to say, almost a stomp. Although
enough.
it did look like, although looking at the numbers, it did look like Escort went, Route 66 went pretty close. I mean, it went to match time 12 minutes, 47, and that's about average for a payload game, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I will say that as someone who watched the game, Crusaders was definitely still in firm control of that. They held for a little long time on first, and then they let Volume Zero get a lot of point progress, and then they held for a while on second. And then they pretty much rolled through on their attacks. They did a very good job there. But I'll start over you now, Choco. Got any comments on this game?
I didn't see this one. But one of the things that I think is just neat looking at these numbers is that Awake is very consistent on their healing.
Yeah, Awake is, yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, and in fact, I think those numbers are pretty great too. As well, I think looking at that, the support lineup, I feel like for Volume Zero is really doing their job, and it makes me wonder, what it is that they need to, where they need to up their game, right, in order to be more competitive, in this league. So that's that's all I feel that I can really comment on regarding this game.
All
The
right.
healing
well
was
then-
pretty consistent because, like, yeah, Awake did lead the healing in all 3 maps for their team.
Yeah.
So I think Awake support carry maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
not enough for them, and they do get 3-0 this week. They will not be making playoffs. Crusaders does has a chance to get in the playoff now that they won this game, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into our predictions section. Let's move on to our next game, which was JCP versus Phoenix. And we talked a lot about this game being a game where both teams had something to prove. And I think to an extent they both did prove it. JCP proved with this victory that they are, not a bottom tier team. They were able to take care of Phoenix. But it wasn't in dominant fashion. Phoenix definitely had, some bits of life on them. They were able to take 2 maps, but unfortunately they do fall to JCP. All things considered, this was a pretty close game. We'll start off with you here, Juggle God. What do you have to say about this one?
I think that in this one, they Phoenix really. I think Phoenix really started to come together on this map, right? Or rather, in this match. They have a really rough record, but I think that there are signs of life from this team now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward.
All right, I think that's fair. I'm definitely looking forward to that. After the playoff break, of course, Phoenix, 0-4 doesn't really have a chance to do anything left this stage, but will have some more chances next stage to pull things together.
I think their record belies how good they are. Or belies. I don't know if that's actually the right word. I just wanted to sound smart. But yeah, I think they're better than their record indicates.
That's fair. All right, any thoughts from you, Silent?
I mean, yeah, them being winless, it's certainly rough, but it also means stage 2 is time to rebuild. So maybe, do you think possibly they might look for other players as well, just to kind of shore up their roster?
I do not know enough about this team to make that prediction. It will depend on what they feel is going well for them and what's not. Usually we don't see teams replace players. We have seen teams pick up some extra players. So that could happen, or they might switch out coaching. But overall, I think this
might be the time to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. During the All-Star break when they have some downtime. But yeah, let's move into our next game now, which was by far our most interesting of the week, and that was Los Beefers versus Paradise Tempest. And everyone thought Paradise Tempest was going to win this game, and they did. But it definitely was not as dominant as we thought they were. Now, I was kind of getting to the point where I was ready to buy in Paradise Tempest side. Everyone was talking about how great of a team they were, how much more dominant they were than every other team in the league. And I watched them for the first. I'd only seen clips, and I'd only been going off of other people. I actually watched them for the first time here, and I really do not buy into that hype. I think this team is not some unbeatable Goliath that's like reinventing the way Diamond Overwatch gets played. Yeah, do they play well? Absolutely. And they know their stuff. They play very smart. Everyone is mostly doing the right thing most of the time, and they have clear like macro intentions. They are clearly working together. The comms are very clean. But these guys still make plenty of mistakes, and we saw that Los Beefers was able to exploit that for several maps here, and they really brought this to a close game. The final map of this was one of the best maps I've watched in Owlet history. I was like on the edge of my seat. I was so I really wanted to see the upset. I have no stake in either of these teams, but I really wanted to see Beefers come away with it after coming so far. But unfortunately, Paradise Tempest with just a little bit too much clutch factor there, able to close this one out. So we'll start off with you here, Silent. Got any comments for this one?
The first thing I thought immediately when I was making this match card is that final blow to death ratio. Look at that, just barely over even. So that makes it made it a really close match, like 235 versus 220. And then even Los Beefers, 0.8, that's really close. It was not a stomp by far.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah,
Anything from you, Juggle?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I watched this one, and first I wanted to give kudos to Marks and Spooky. Great cast, guys. I really enjoyed your work. And second, I kind of feel the opposite way that you do about this, Misfit. I think that Paradise Tempest is great, and I think that Los Beefers leveled up. I think that and you'll see this later in my power rankings. I think that they are a severely underrated team. Because and interestingly, for similar reasons that you gave, the fact that they were able to see those mistakes in Paradise Tempest and capitalize on them, I think shows how far they've come. Yeah, I think they're going to be a team to watch moving forward.
All right. Well, we
Dark
will
horse?
definitely. Oh, do you have something, Silent?
Or I was going to ask, maybe would they count as the dark horse pick?
I think so. I think they would count
know,
as a
for
dark
sure,
horse
absolutely.
pick. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we haven't gotten to see too much of them yet. They did start off. They did lose to Otter Oxide very early on in 3-0 fashion, but coming out here,
Yes.
they performed very, very well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of we still don't really know where they lie. You know, was Otter Oxide a bad game? Was this a good game? We don't really know quite yet. We'll definitely get some more chances to see more of them in stage 2. Unfortunately, they have been eliminated from playoffs with their 1-3 record. But yeah, we'll definitely
But let it
talk
be
about
known.
Oh,
Let it be known that I am a beef lever now,
a beef leader.
as someone in chat said during the match. So I'm a beef lever.
All right, I like that quite a bit actually. No, I definitely am excited to see how both these teams do moving forward. But we'll get into our final game, which is also a little bit strange. We had some strange things going on here. This was DCR versus Team Rauluu. Don't believe we have a match card for them because of how it turned out. For those that don't know, Team Rauluu engaged in a little bit of cheating. From what I know, it wasn't intentional. It's not like they were intentionally cheating. Some guys were just messing around. Basically, during the third map on Eichenwald, they were kind of dominating DCR. If you'd watched the game, DCR basically stood no chance. Rauluu was walking all over them. And during the last map, they decided they were going to mute and see if they could win without calming. So they started talking in team chat, like typing in game, and some of the spectators joined in. And so, in Owlet, you're not allowed to communicate with people who have third-person view for what I feel are obvious reasons, and I'm sure you all can agree that's just not really fair. And at one point, the coach told them EMP shatter, which I don't actually know personally if that was them saying that the other team had it or if they should use EMP shatter. But either way, that's cheating. And so they were forced to forfeit this match, and DCR got the win. Talking about it in terms of like where these teams lie, I think this definitely proves that DCR is one of the teams who, I hate saying this, but they are a little overrated. They had a very simple schedule, and this was their first real like tough opponent that like they needed to prove they could hang, and they did not. Team Rauluu played very, very well against them, and it was a 3-0. Team Rauluu once again solidifying that they are one of the best teams in those tournaments. And a little unfortunate. I do kind of look to where DCR is going to lie because personally, I don't really know. They could be a team that's gotten such an easy schedule that they've just been up there, or they could be a team that like they're like top 4, but they just had a bad game. With the only 1 game a week schedule, it's much harder to tell than an Owlet's history where teams are at like week 4 in the season. But I'm really excited to see where they can do. As I've mentioned before, some of these guys are Owlet vets, so I look forward to seeing how they will do earlier on. Do either of you have any comments for this game?
Yeah, I just I cast this one again with a Mentos, and you're right. It was pretty much it was pretty one sided, and Team Growloo in addition, one of the reasons that it was so I think dominant is they have like a spawn camp strat. I think like they were in. I think I even mentioned this in the cast. They were in DCR's spawn in every single map that they played. Not each of the sub maps, I don't think, in Control in the very first one, but at least yeah, they spawn camped every single time, and that I think affects the mental game as well. And so I think that hurt DCR, getting spawn camped early on in Control, and then again and again. I think that was rough, and I do want to, just make a quick comment on the cheating because I think it's really, really unfortunate. Because I know, or from what I've heard, most of the team Growloo was really, really upset that this happened. It sounds like the majority of the team, like this wasn't like a team wide cheating trying to win thing. This was a couple of people making some really stupid choices, frankly, and getting punished for it. And unfortunately, the rest of the team has to get punished as well. And I think the admins did the right thing. I really do. And it's unfortunate for the members of Team Growloo who were behaving appropriately. But I hope that this leads to some maybe some culture changes within the team.
They definitely need it.
Yeah. So it's kind of it puts you in a weird place, I think, too, as a caster, because you want to cheer for every team, you want to be a fan of every team, but when this kind of thing happens, you lose trust and you lose confidence. And I just want to see Team Growloo plays great, but I want to see them do better as a team.
For sure. Anything from you, Silent?
Talk too much about the actions themselves, but Team Growloo was definitely dominant in that match. We could probably all agree on that. I mean, they basically certainly played to their strengths, and on the escort map, I can't remember. Was it Havana?
I
I can't remember what it was.
don't remember either.
Yeah, because I know.
I think it was they had the Eichenwald was hybrid.
Eichenwald was hybrid.
Lijiang was probably Control because I mean, who
Lijiang was
when it's available.
Route 66. Yeah. Okay.
Route 66. Yeah.
I wanted to ask because I know like pretty much every single team, Owl, Contenders, Owlet, they always can't spawn camp Havana since it's like an established strat. I mean, still though, we saw some as the producer. I distinctly remember sort of trying to play spawn camping on Route 66 as well with the like surprise bash. So long ago already. I think it was Bastion. They tried to like sneak it up on them.
Yeah, there was some Bastion play. There was. Yeah, that's right. On
in the trains
that map in particular. Yeah.
Yeah, Bastion and the trains.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have doubted it coming from Team Growloo. They definitely do like to mess around as much as they can. But yeah, no, like you said, Juggle, I hope they focus up going on to their next games. Maybe cut the trolling down to a minimum. Obviously, they're a good team, but
and there's a lot of great people on the team too.
Yeah,
a great team, yeah. Maybe just
Yeah.
a little.
Don't be idiots. And then boom,
Can't be
problem
toxic.
solved.
Yeah, exactly. It's not hard.
It isn't. It really isn't. But with that, we will now move over to the standings for this week. Joey. As we can see here, we now have confirmation on who's getting into playoffs. So Paradise Tempest, Danger Close, and Team Growlu have all clinched for their spot. And the final one will go to either Otter Oxide or Crusaders. They both play each other this week. The winner of that will get the fourth spot in our stage playoffs. Everyone else has been eliminated from contention, but we'll still talk about them. Rogue Dragons and JCP sitting kind of in the middle there. I would group them in a little bit with Otter Oxide. These are teams that could either go up or down. And then, of course, after Crusaders, we have Los Beefers, who are low right now, but, they just went head-to-head with one of the best teams in the league, so maybe not an accurate placing for them right now. And then we have Hyperion, Volume 0, and Phoenix in our bottom trio. And, this is all good and proper, but I think what you guys all really came for was to see us argue about our power rankings. So let's throw those up on the screen and get to talk about
let's
them.
go.
Here we go.
I'm very excited. I'll talk about mine first. As the host,
All right.
it is my thing, so I will talk about mine. Obviously, the God Gamers tier hasn't changed. That's going to be Paradise Tempest and Team Growlu. I do think Paradise Tempest is more even than I thought they were previously. I will blame myself for this. I kind of placed them without ever having seen them. I was just buying into the hype a little bit last week. I was like, oh, this team must be really, really good. If literally everyone I've ever spoken to in this league is like, oh my god, they're so good. And not all these people can just be completely wrong. So obviously they must be pretty good. And they are pretty good. But I definitely think they are a beatable team. I do not think this is some sort of Ohio OOs from Season 3 where no one's going to touch them all season. This is definitely going to be a team that loses a few more maps and potentially loses a few more games. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But they are in the God Gamers here from now. Of course, they are undefeated, and they've only lost 2 maps. They have the claim to the number 1 spot. But below that is Team Growlu, and we've seen them. One of the other top teams is Danger Close Red, at least standings wise. And Team Growlu just walked all over them. They were no problem for them. So I'm really, really excited to see this game in our stage playoffs. I'm assuming it'll happen, but I guess Team Growlu could get upset before then. We'll see how that one goes. In our Decent Gamers tier, it's kind of mostly a reorder. Otter Oxide is in my 3 spot, and then DCR and Rogue Dragons are up there. Rogue Dragons has had some really good performances all season, and I think with the win over Hyperion, they have kind of established that they are a pretty solid team. So I decided to move them up into the Decent Gamers tier. I still have DCR there because even though DCR did kind of get stomped this week, I still think they are one of the better teams in this tournament, and I think they are better than the lower teams that I have in the Some Sauce tier. So I kept them up there. I still have Los Beefers in that tier, and I hate that I keep having to say this about them. I need them to prove to me that it wasn't a. And that's going to be hard because they have downtime now. They're not in playoffs. They do have a game this week, but it's against Volume 0, so it's maybe not the best determiner of how strong they are as a team. I would like to see them go against another mid-ranked team, establish where they are in that mid-rank section. I will say that I think of the Some Sauce tier, this is the team that I think can rise the easiest. I think Los Beefers could go up more so than JCP or Hyperion could. JCP, I think they are one of the lower mid-ranked teams. They are looking better than they looked initially, but I still think they're on that low mid tier. Still have some things to prove. And then Hyperion, who, although they keep having somewhat good performances, they just can't seem to find wins. And I just think that is, the inability to close out games is important. That is an important factor to power rankings. And right now, these guys just can't close out a game. And then I have my I Could Beat You Barehanded team tier. And this one hasn't changed, even though Crusaders did look better this week, and I will give them that. And also Volume 0 did look better this week. I have to keep these 3, and Phoenix. All these teams look better. Here's how I should say this. This tier has moved up in relation to the other tiers, but the teams in the other tiers have done things to solidify them in those tiers so much so that I can't move any of these teams out of this tier. That's how I'll say it. I think all these teams performed better this week than they have in weeks past, and I do think the level of play we're seeing is starting to get more consistent across all tiers. But for now, I cannot justify rating any of the teams in this tier above a team that's in the Some Sauce. So that wraps up my power rankings. Thank you all for watching. I love you all so much. Let's throw it over to you, Juggle God.
All right. So let's talk about the top three that I wrote first. Paradise Tempest, Danger Close Red, and Team Growlywoo. I put Team Growlywoo third before I knew kind of like the details of what happened in that match, and I feel like I'm a little bit like Reinforce here, who constantly redoes his power rankings during flat chat. But I think I would actually put Team Growlywoo above DCR. I do think DCR just had a bad day when they were playing Team Growlywoo. But I don't think that's enough to really put them above Team Growlywoo at the moment. So, in your heads, everybody do a little flipperoo right there for me with Team Growlywoo and Danger Close Red. I have Paradise Tempest up at the top because they still have the best record, even though, like you said, Misfit, they may have had an easier season
Easier
so
schedule.
far. Easier schedule. Thank you. That was the S word I was looking for. Had an easier schedule so far, but I'm still going to keep them on top. Beefers, like I said, I think this team is severely underrated based on their play against Danger Close Red, and I put them above Otter Oxide, knowing that Otter Oxide beat them 3-0. I believe week 1? Was it week 1? Let me double check. I even wrote that in my notes. Yeah.
It was either week 1. It was the first week that Los Beefers played. I can't remember if they had the bye week 1 or 2, but it was the first game that Los Beefers played.
Yeah, I think they're underrated. So I'm putting them up there with some of the top teams because they took Danger Close Red to 5. I think that's worth really bumping them up in the power rankings. Let's see here, but moving a little further down on the list, I've got JCP above Road Dragons because they took them 3-0. So, I kind of had them neck and neck, but when I was, trying to decide, I looked to that and said, I've really got to put them just a little bit ahead of Rogue Dragons in my rankings. Crusaders, I put them a little bit higher than they're ranked as well, because they've only played 3 matches so far. And as you're going to see in my preds next, I think they're going to take at least 1 map off of Otter Oxide. And if you can do that, then I think you deserve to be a little bit higher than some of the rest of the teams. And the reason too that I put them above Hyperion is that I put Crusaders above Hyperion is because Hyperion's already played all of their games so far. We've already seen, what they can do, and the fact that their records are so close, while Crusaders still has a game left to play, I think puts them a little bit above Hyperion. And looking down at the last two, I swapped Phoenix and Volume 0 in my power rankings because Volume 0, I'm sorry, guys and girls, but I haven't seen you take a map yet this season. And until you can do that, I don't think I can put you above Phoenix. So you're a good team. You're a good team. I know you can do it. And I know you can get those W's, but I want to see them before I can put you higher up. So that does it for my power rankings. I want to say, Amintus, I'm sorry if you completely disagree with this. I hope I haven't embarrassed you as your casting partner, because that man has the big brain of the two of us.
Well, you're casting that one, so you two are casting that, aren't you?
Which one? The
Volume 0, I think.
Volume 0 Beefers?
Volume 0 Beefers, yeah.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that game. I'm super excited because I love Volume 0 and I love Beefers too. I love all the teams. So, yeah. Awesome. Come on, Volume 0. I know you can do it. I know you can do it, guys.
Just get one. Just get a map.
Just get a map. Just get a map.
Get a map, Forehead.
You can do it.
All right. Why don't you explain yours for us, Silent?
All right. So, because I was sort of scrambling on the match cards, I sort of sent this in, like, I think mid-show, just so Joey would have enough time to screenshot and put it in. For the most part, I just kind of shamelessly copied off the standings and moved a couple of the teams down. For the most part, I think I agree where the standings represent like most of the teams at least. But there was like a few that kind of really stood out to me. So I had Paradise Tempest Danger Close Red, Otter Oxide, and Team Growlulu in my top 4. And apparently, I'm a little less I'm a little less confident about Team Growlulu than you two.
Yeah, I'm a little. You got to explain that pick a little bit for us. Is it because of the bans onto Vadi and Alcura?
I mean, it'd be a little bit of bias to say that, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, that's true. That might
think it
be
would
a
be
little bit of
biased.
it, but I do think like Team Growlulu versus, like, put Team Growlulu versus Otter Oxide. I feel like Otter Oxide would do better, because like, I mean, most of the matches with Team Growlulu have been stomps, except for, I was gonna say maybe if they can play against stronger teams, but they did 3-0 unofficially Danger Close Red. So maybe I'm a little less confident about that, but I do feel like I want to see like stronger opponents. So maybe the stage playoffs will be their chance to prove it. I still think they're in the top 4, so that could be like their chance to prove it to me. This is all gut feeling. I just feel like Otter Oxide is just a little bit better than Team Growlulu, and if they faced off, I would have Otter Oxide over them. Volume 0 and Phoenix, I mean, those are the bottom 2 in standings. I honestly think it's really close between them. Like, I know Volume 0 hasn't won a map, but I do think in terms of power rankings, again, all hypothetical, I do think it'd be close between those two.
All right, that's fair enough.
Anything else? Is there anything else? I'm trying to think. Does anything on my list surprise you?
I mean, like the Team Growlulu pick is definitely. I mean, like obviously losing like Vadi and Alcura is big. I'm pretty sure Vadi was playing his actual role of DPS. If I'm
He
not
was, yeah.
mistaken. Yeah. But of course he wasn't playing. That's why he got banned. Is because he wasn't texting chat. So
He was, yeah.
So
I think it'll be close between those two, but yeah. I just feel better about Otter Oxide over Team Growlulu.
I definitely think Team Growlulu is like the top 2 team. I've talked to them a lot. But given the way they play, I don't know how much the bans will affect them. I didn't really take that into account when I chose my power rankings, because I was kind of going for a more comprehensive. Like those are only like 1 or 2 games. Like it's not really that big of a thing. Having their coach banned isn't a big issue, because I guarantee you the coaching they were getting from a 3700 Doom 1 trick was not the reason they were a top 2 team in this league. So I don't really think that had an impact. I don't know how the bans will affect them though going into stage playoffs, because I believe they don't play one of the games this week, so their bans will be in stage playoffs. And I believe, given our format, that the first game will be a semifinal and the second game will be the final. So Vadi will not get to play in either of those games, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess I didn't really take that into account when making my power rankings, but that could actually have some pretty big playoff.
Yeah, I thought about the bans. I didn't think that deep into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It did influence it slightly, but I didn't really consider the stage playoffs exactly as well.
That's fair. Well, no. Does anyone have any closing remarks for power rankings, or do we go on to predictions now?
I just wanted to shout out who was it? Sith911 in chat said Los Dragons stay B, and I just thought that was a great comment, and I agree with you. I think they are the Shanghai Dragons right now of this league, and
of what season?
If they of what season? Of what season? Of the current season, except for the fact that they didn't quite make it in. They were so close to making it in.
Yeah.
If they'd made it into the playoffs, then I would 100% agree with you there. Dragons Day B, but it's still appropriate, I think.
No, the Los Dragons the D is going to be the merger team that comes out of stage 2. that's how they're going to take out the league.
Wow.
They're going to merge it up. No, but we can throw it over predictions now. Everyone get your
let's do
last look at our power.
Let's go.
But yeah, let's talk about our games this week. Our 2 games are going to be Los Beavers to B versus Volume 0, which has no playoff implication. And then we're going to have Otter Oxide versus Crusaders. Now, the winner of that game gets into playoff. So that's a pretty big one here.
Not quite.
Oh, is there more? I was only told that much.
Yeah, I did a numbers check with somebody else in the seasons discussion channel. On the spot, it would look like either team winner is in, but Crusaders can only lose one map.
That's what I thought too. Okay, yeah, I was under that impression as well. Silent.
Yeah, Otters has advantage in that they could win. They could win on 5, but Crusaders needs to win with only one map loss.
Okay. Who gets it if they don't? Is it Rogue?
Uh,
I think Otter still, right? No,
I don't-
no,
yeah,
it,
it-
Otter. No,
is
it
it
wouldn't be
Otter?
Otter.
is
Well,
it?
that depends. Is the tie? I haven't been told. Is the tiebreaker going
I think
to be
it's
like?
based on map percentage.
But yeah, but if the head to head is lost, I don't know if we do that. I don't think we do that. So I do think it would just
Head-to-head second. Well, we'll have to check, but
So
I'm
if
pretty
Otters gets
sure
two maps.
It might be Otter. It might be Otter.
it might be
actually.
I think that
Otters.
would make
Yeah,
most
I
sense,
think
yeah.
it is.
I think
Alright,
it is
so then-
Otter.
So then
Yeah,
what we should
looking
say is
at
that if
this.
Otters gets 2 maps in this game, they clinch playoff. So it doesn't matter if they win or lose; they need to get 2 maps. That was a very
I
fun
don't
thing
know,
to figure out on the
Are we
fly.
sure? Are we sure that if Los Beefers doesn't do really well, they can't make it in?
I think
Because
they,
they're 1-1 right now. Wait, no, that's week 3 standings. No wonder that doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
standings haven't been.
Yeah,
updated.
The standings haven't been updated,
Yeah,
and
so they're 1 and 2. I don't
1
think
and
they
2.
can.
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're close, but I think it would still go to Otter Oxide, is what it is.
All right. Yeah, I was. I guess I should have looked into that a little bit more. But obviously, that is the big storyline for this week. You know, who wins, or I guess now who gets 2 maps. Because if Otter Oxide can get 2 maps in that game, then they are clinched for that. If Crusaders can win in 3-1 fashion, then they're good. And with that out of the way, let's throw it over to our predictions so the chat can see who we have decided to pick for this. And it's been pretty unanimous. We're all pretty high on Beefers
Okay.
after their game against Paradise Tempest. And Otter Oxide just... I've talked a lot about this team here. I know a lot of the guys on the team. They have a really diverse coaching staff. They've got a lot of knowledge between their players. They've got Hawk. They've got McNewby, who are both 2 legendary Owlet players. It's pretty hard for this team to lose, and they have managed to do it. You know, kudos to them. They did manage to actually lose a game. But I don't think they're going to lose against Crusaders. Crusaders, while they did look a lot better this week, I do not think they are a team that can compete at the highest tiers of this tournament, and that's where Otter Oxide is kind of like on the threshold of. I did put them in my second best tier because that's where they belong right now. But you know, they have the potential to be at the top, and I don't think Crusaders is ready for teams like that yet. I think Crusaders, if they play the way they did against Volume 0, they're definitely going to make this game a close game. I don't think that's even a question. But I don't know if they have what it takes to close it out against Otter.
Yeah, I think that for my preds, I went ahead and predicted matches as well, or maps. I think that in both cases we're gonna see a 3-1. I think each team I think that Crusaders are gonna take a map off of Otter Oxide, and I think that Volume 0 can take a map off of Beefers. But I think that both those teams are just I think they're outclass. You know, I think Beefers is gonna outclass their opponents, and I think so is Otter Oxide, and I think that's just the reality of this matchup.
Don, you got any thoughts for this? Anything to add?
Sort of the same thing. I feel more confident with Otters versus Crusaders because they've had such a strong run towards the end of the stage, and then Los Beefers, kind of the same thing. I was gonna I wanted to ask Jugglegod if he thought Volume 0 would get a map on this one, but you already said it.
Yeah. I totally do. I think they will. Sorry to preempt your question.
Is
there.
this is the 1 map match?
This is the 1 map match. You guys can do it. I know you can. I know you've got it in you.
Just make a show of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. These are just, again, for me, these are just kind of spot picks, just kind of how I feel at the moment. But I do feel confident about it. I don't think either of them will be 3-0s though. I think if Crusaders makes it, I think it'll be really close on that 3-1 edge.
You think it's going to be a close 3-1? It'll actually be a close match, even though like the numbers won't necessarily show that, right? Like, because that's the thing we see a lot.
I think so because
you know?
yeah, because you have that pressure of this. You have that pressure of knowing you can just make it in if you do well enough. I think that kind of might motivate Crusaders to play a little bit harder on this one. Well, Otters has the clear advantage, so they could probably, I don't want to say relax, but maybe it gives them a little bit of, what's the word? Maybe playing a little too
Insurance?
relaxed, possibly. Yeah, insurance.
I think I see what I think I see what you're saying, right? Like they're gonna be a little lax, maybe. But that isn't the word I don't think that you're looking for either.
Yeah, man, lax sounds about right. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to imp before I curse them. But
Alright.
yeah, I think this the advantage for Otters gives them a little more room, possibly an opening for Crusaders to take advantage.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps it up for our show tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. For those of you who are just joining us, this has been Juggle God and Silent Marine joining me on the panel tonight. You both did a great job. Enjoyed
Thank
having
you
you on
so
the
much.
show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Camera's frozen, but I just waved.
Yeah. All right. Before we leave, though, we do have a couple of things to talk about big macro for the tournament. So, upcoming after the games this week, we do have playoffs. We have All Stars. So playoffs are next week, and that's just going to be top 4 get in, as we kind of covered on the show already. But I did want to talk a little bit about how All Stars and Roll Stars will work this year, because it is a little bit different than we've had in years past. In years past, we've had that big Google form, and you just vote for All Stars, and they get All Stars. We're not doing that this year, but we are. It's different. Basically, All Stars will be community voted for. And Roll Stars and MVP are like 2 different things. So All Stars will just be, whoever votes and gets it, good for them. But Roll Stars will be voted on by like the admin team and casters and trusted community members. And then the whole community will vote for the MVP through the Roll Stars, not the All Stars. So that's the big change of this one. And I think that is to give it a little bit more integrity. In years past, it has kind of been touted that the All Stars are kind of a popularity contest, and to some extent that's true. I will say my own award that I got through All Stars being the season 3.5 support MVP, that was kind of not correct. I was not the best support that season. I was the second best. That award deserved to go to Jonathan. He got second best. That was not right? So we're trying to make sure things like that don't happen, and that there's a little bit more integrity to the MVP vote and the Roll Star vote this season, by making sure that the trusted members have the vote there. You guys, of course, will still get to vote for the MVP, but we're trying to make it a little bit more. You guys get the idea. Another change that we're doing, the winner of the All-Star Games will play the admin team, which will be pretty cool. The admin team is very, very versatile, has so many good players. Not named Penguinator, he's not very good, but the rest of them are pretty good, so I'm excited to see how that one plays out afterwards. There will also be a couple of other things. Widow 1v1 obviously coming back. There's going to be like a 3v3 payload maybe, which should be kind of interesting. But other than that, going to be a good show. You make sure you come find it next week. As for the games this weekend, you'll be able to find them right here on this channel at Owlet Tournament. Be sure to come check that out. This guy will be, this guy. Yeah, there we go. This guy will be casting this weekend. You should go watch him. He's pretty good.
This weekend? Monday, actually. I'm casting Monday. It turns out.
This weekend is a very loose term. We like to use.
There we go. Yeah.
Very loose.
I'll be casting the
And
long weekend.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But
And then
once
I'll
again,
be producing the other match.
Oh, there you go. Well, so both these guys will be on the production squad. But yes, thank you guys so much for coming out and showing your support.
You're welcome.
And the Nest. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to you guys. And that is going to be it for our show tonight. So good luck in your ranked games and have a good night.